the days for John Cryan really do look like they're numbered at this point.
Absolutely. So and the reports that are coming out yesterday and today in terms of circulating the names, in both of these cases, it's Zames is said to have been approached by recruiters. Then now today's story about Meisner is potentially a top investor at Deutsche Bank reached out to him. In both cases, it's unclear if they're actually interested in the job, either of these people. But I think what is crystallizing, as you said, David, is that Cryan's days are numbered. They're really making a push in a full court press to find a replacement.
Yeah, and it's always dangerous because this is like tom-toms beating. We don't really know what's going on, but it's fun to talk about it nonetheless. If this is right, that these are two candidates, they're very different candidates. They would likely lead the bank in very different directions.
Right, and I think that's an indication of the ongoing turmoil within Deutsche Bank in terms of what is the best move for them next. Do they try and grow into other units, maybe compete more in the U.S., or do they refocus back on banking, particularly in Europe? So on one hand, Meisner having a corporate investment banking background. Zames is known for hedge fund trading and helping to clean up some of the London whale saga that J.P. Morgan faced. He was actually seen as a successor possibly to Jamie Dimon at one point at J.P. Morgan Chase, but then that obviously didn't pan out. So it's interesting, as you said, David, they're very different potential candidates in their backgrounds.
Yeah, and that's what we heard from Davide Serra earlier. He doesn't own Deutsche Bank shares because he doesn't think they can compete in the U.S. And he did say they need to figure out what kind of company they're going to be. Here's what he said to Bloomberg.
Investors need to decide first which type of bank do they want, because so far what I can see, it's clearly split views. So I think there is a position of John Cryan that wants to significantly reduce the size of the investment bank, in particular in the U.S. And then you have probably the view of a chairman, backed by some of the other shareholders that want to keep the presence there.
And this follows J.P. Morgan earlier in the week saying the Deutsche Bank should get out of the U.S. altogether because they just can't compete.
Right, exactly. One of the questions I have in my mind is what is the potential fallout from this going on for a long period of time? In one way, you're almost hoping that some of this news is leaking out in terms of the potential candidates, but that they're really close because for employees and shareholders, the longer this drags out, the more the damage there may be done. But also, they may not have a lot of people to pull from. And this is a really hard job to take on.
Well, and it's not as if this has been a very stable bank. It's known exactly what it's doing for some time. I mean, this is on top of a couple of years of redoing and reinventing and rebuilding. So they're going to have to do it yet again. I must say, one of the things that strikes me, Mr. Meisner, if he's interested, if they're interested in him, is his name. He is German, and he speaks Germans fluently. And it is Deutsche Bank. And as a practical matter, you're going to need somebody who speaks German and knows the German regulators pretty well.
That's a great point, David. I mean, and also the workers, right? I mean, if the bulk of the workers are potentially in Germany, he could potentially rally the troops at a bank that has been kind of battered for a long time.